I'm at a pretty cool location, and I just realized, you know, that actually here I can still film. So I'm at the Ritchie Brothers auction, but my driver is of course late. The guy called me, like I said, you know, I didn't want to tell him to meet too early yesterday, and I said let's meet at 8:30, and even 8:30 did not work for them because they're in Scarborough. They should be closer to this than me, because I'm coming from Cambridge, but there's a lot of cool trucks because I'm sitting right at the exit. Hold on, I just have to. So I just realized that while I'm waiting, I might as well show you guys some trucks. All right, I'm sitting. Oh, the guy's just driving a Kenworth, and it has a sticker. There's a sticker of Ritchie Brothers. So he's just doing a drive-away service. I see people are loading there. A guy is loading a Volvo excavator on the RGN. Then over there, a guy is loading. I think he was loading like a zoom boom, you know, like a lift truck. This guy came with a 4-axle RGN, but all he has is a load of tires. Because I thought at first those tires are, you know, just to load something with maybe, you know, something that can damage his deck. But then I see the sticker again. I see the Ritchie Brothers sticker on the tires. So they send an RGN to pick up tires, but maybe he delivered something. And the entrance is behind me, and of course that's what I need. You see this over there? This that's a tilt and load. No, that's like a roll-off truck. Like that would be perfect for my forklift, you know, because I couldn't sleep all night. I was thinking, how are we gonna load this thing, because it's so narrow, right? The tires are so narrow. So I asked the carrier that I hired, ask him if they're ramps. Like basically the guy that's coming, he has a low profile step deck, and it has ramps. And I asked him, I said, these ramps, do they hook up at a specific spot, or can you move them? Can you make them more narrow, like closer together? And he said, yeah, it's okay, don't worry about it, you know, it should work. And then I said, how about your floor? I said, I gave him all the dimensions. I said, you know that this machine is was it like 17,000 pounds, and it only has, okay, the front I'm not too worried about. The front has 4 tires, but the rear has only 2 tires, and that's where most of the weight is, you know, because it's that's where you have the counterweight, the engine, right, the propane tank, and he says, yeah, it should be okay. But I'll ask the driver, because he might know his trailer. Because I'm gonna ask him first off, are you owner operator, or are you company driver? Like, is it your trailer, or is it the company's trailer? Because if it's his trailer, he'll be more concerned about, you know, keeping his trailer nice and shiny, right? And yeah, this thing, it's, you know, forklift, right? So it's very low off the ground, and the wheels are close together. So I anticipate some serious problems, you know, at loading. And then it's heavy, so it can damage the floor. But the worst case scenario, if the guy feels that it might damage the floor, I'll hop in his truck and we'll just drive over to Home Depot. There's one nearby somewhere here, and I'll just buy some boards, and we'll put some boards under the wheels, you know, because that might protect the, but you know, but again, the wheels are narrow, so that means that they will be pretty close to the center beams, right? Because it's a step deck, so it has 2 beams in the center. It has nothing on the outside. That's why you cannot load something heavy with tracks where all the weight is on the outside, because there's no beams there. So you'll just kill the trailer. Even like 50,000 pounds, I saw videos on YouTube, somebody was trying to load a rock truck 50,000 pounds, and of course the wheels of this rock truck were outside where there's no beams, and the trailer started just braking and flexing, you know, and the driver started shouting, "Oh, stop, go back." Basically, go back on the dock. Oh yeah, and speaking about docks, that's another problem with this. So yeah, a low profile step deck is good to unload when he hooks up his ramps, and supposedly they're flexible in terms of width, right? But loading, that's why when I had a step deck with 36-inch deck height, it was a nightmare, because most docks, like most places, if they have a dock, they would have a flatbed dock, which is like this high, and then they would have a step deck dock. And step deck standard dock is 40 inches tall, right? And I remember my stupid trailer, it was a nice trailer, Wilson, with those 17-inch tires, but I was always like 4 or 5 inches below, right? And so if this guy is like that, imagine, right? So they're gonna send us to a dock, and unless some places they have a adjustable dock, you know, kind of like a metal structure that they can lower, they can make it lower. So but I don't remember what these guys have. I know for sure they have a dock, but I don't remember if it's a stationary dock, just basically built out of dirt, you know, or is it a mechanical. It would be nice if it's a mechanical, but worst case, so basically what's gonna happen, right? So he's gonna back to the dock, and his deck will be 4 or 5 inches below. And how do you jump with the forklift, right? So you'll have to get some timbers. Then, you know, I'll send them, we'll have to go get some timbers if they don't have anything over here, because you have to put them, you know, where the trailer touches the dock, so that to make it easier for the forklift. And then unloading, I'm thinking about that, because it's so low in the ground, at you know, the ground clearance is pretty low. So when you start going down on these ramps, basically it's gonna be a nightmare. And the guy is late, so his boss called me and he says, "Oh, we're sorry, Mr. Sergei, but my driver had problems starting the truck," which doesn't feel like a real reason, and he's gonna be probably about half an hour late. Okay, he says, "I'll give you a phone number to the driver so he can so he can text you or call you." So the guy calls me, and I couldn't figure out his name, Chad or Shad or Shore, something like that. And he was shouting, and he says, "Right now my GPS shows ETA 9:15, and we are talking at 8:25, so he's not 30 minutes late, he's like 45 minutes late." So typical typical carrier behavior, you know. If this was me, man, and the guy was paying cash like what I'm doing, I would be here at 8 o'clock, you know. I tell him 8:30, that means that you have to be here before that, right? Like every trucker knows this, but this guy is fashionably late, basically. Oh, somebody bought a boat. A guy is towing Sea Lion on its own trailer. Okay, the guy with tires left. There's a couple of other trucks over there. One guy is towing. He's towing a some kind of a processing machine, and it looks pretty heavy. So he hooked up a single axle Jeep behind this truck. So anyway, so I won't be able to record inside, but I'll be able to show you guys what we're driving, because I'll be driving behind this guy with my forklift. Hopefully we can load. Oh yeah, but actually the worst case scenario is these guys have humongous wheel loaders. And I see when they're repositioning stuff, what they do is they can lift a forklift. I don't know if they can lift 17,000 pounds, but all they do is just they put forks right under the body of the forklift, and they lift it and they can put it on the trailer. But I don't know if they would be willing to do that. Quite often they don't want to touch the load. Like, remember when I had that dozer, they refused to help me unload it, because I remember I hooked up a cable to the dozer and I tried to pull it off the trailer, but because it was winter, there was a bunch of snow, my wheels were spinning. And I asked him, I said, guys, can you help me? Like, you know, your loader has much better tires, right? Like humongous tires. And I was pretty positive that loader would be able to pull it off, like both literally and figuratively. Pull it off, pull the dozer off. And they said no. They said no, we don't want to. We told you when you were coming in, we told you that you must be able to unload it yourself. So they did warn me, right? But then I said, okay, where do you want me to drop it off? And they gave me a spot, you know, covered in snow, and it's hilly, you know. And these highway trucks, you know, they're useless. Even like this much snow, they start losing traction. Okay, yeah, there's a bunch of heavy metal over there. All the excavators. I see big wheel loaders. And that guy got stuck in there. 4-axle truck, 4-axle trailer. I hope he doesn't hit the fence. He was trying to go that way, and it's too narrow, so he's backing out. Oh, and he has a nice trailer. He has a paver. Basically, in the back of the deck, he has an incline. That's how he was able to load that Bobcat. You know, very versatile trailer. But of course, this makes the usable deck shorter, because he has that big ramp in the back of the main deck, you know. So anyway, so the plan is waiting for this guy. What's the time now? Time now is 8:52. Time flies. So I prepared all my paperwork here in the envelope. We just have to go inside that building, check in, and what she does, she emails the guardhouse, and then we go there in our vehicles, and the guardhouse gives you like a sign with a number, so that you are authorized to enter, and then they give you a release form. And I think the trucker has to fill it out. He has to put in his license plate, stuff like that. Because yeah, when I was here the day before, I told them that we were just coming in with Alan. I said, we don't have a truck. We're just coming in to check the condition. And good thing we did, right? So we found out that battery issue. So the battery was changed, and they said everything works. Actually, some guy emailed me in response to my ad, you know, this forklift for sale. Some guy emailed me, and he started asking me like very weird questions that I did not know the answer to. Like, first question was, does it have wet brakes? Okay. And does it have a torque multiplier, or is it a direct drive? I'm like, holy moly. And I found out it's oh, check this out, step deck with 4 axles. 4 axles. Wow. And this guy just bought, this guy got a bunch of what are those? I don't know what that is, but something for construction, some material. And so yeah, I had to look up what what wet brakes are. So you know, you learn something new every day. So it turns out wet brakes are brakes that are oiled and they're protected. They're not open, so they last longer and they have higher stopping power and they require less maintenance. But I don't think this forklift has it because it's pretty old, right? But maybe they put it in when they refurbished it, because it was a few years ago it was clearly completely remanned, you know, because hoses are new, the seat is new, it's in great shape. It doesn't look like it was, you know, built when it was built. And the second question, torque multiplier, again, I have no idea, but I found I told him, I said, I remember that there's on the steering wheel, on the steering column, there was a lever and it said something like low gear, high torque, something like that. So you can push that and it gives you you know, higher torque. So maybe that's what he means. But the guy never responded, but at least there was some interest, right? So the first guy, this is the first time somebody emailed me about this machine. So it would be cool if I could sell it before I leave, you know. But of course that's not gonna happen because today is already Thursday. My flight is on Saturday, so I only have today and tomorrow. So today the big day is, major goal is to remove the forklift from the auction's property and move it to my storage place, right? And then Friday I'm just gonna be off from this, and I just want to go maybe downtown Toronto, do some, you know, photography. Cool truck. Well, it's 11:30, but finally the forklift is loaded, and guess who drove it on the truck? Captain Sergei. It was a bit scary, but we got lucky, you know. I was so afraid of many problems, but like, how do we secure it? Was there that pin in the back? I forgot to check last time when we were here with Alan. You know, does it have enough? Because forklifts can be very difficult to tie down, but thankfully this one, you know, as usual, basically something that you thought would be the biggest problem, like loading, I thought the guy would be much lower than the dock because he's low profile step deck. Turns out he was level, and the machine had a bunch of places where you can hook up chains. I checked myself, but there was no pin in the back, but there's a massive piece of frame that you can wrap your chain around in the back there, like where it looks like a radiator, and then there's two holes in the front. And I told the guy, I used to be a trucker, so basically don't mess with me. So I said, put 4 separate chains with 4 separate binders and 1 more chain across the forks. But what turns out to be the biggest problem was the sand, because this thing is so heavy, and it was sitting right near the fence where there's a little like whenever there's moisture, it's going down through that area, you know, like water from this road, because the forklift was sitting right next to this road. You see, like, I just parked where all these guys usually stop, you know, when they pull out, they go use the washroom or anything like that. So, but we are out of the, and so that ground was soft in there. First I couldn't get out, so I had to call the gatehouse. They send actually no, I saw a guy in a big wheel loader, and he just lifted, and he just I think he dragged me out. Did he drag me? Oh, first off, the forklift was blocked by other forklifts. Somebody moved the forklifts overnight, so the guy moved those out of the way. Okay, I tried to move, nothing happens. I look at the tires, I thought maybe the transmission is broken, right? No, the tires are spinning, but this thing just keeps sinking deep because the rear wheels are so small, you know, and it's soft. So call again the same guy, found that guy again. He tried to lift me. The forklift, his rear wheels are going in the air, because I'm guessing he didn't realize that this thing was 17,000 pounds. But eventually he managed to get it out, and he left, and I'm still stuck because, you know, he moved me like sideways parallel to the fence, and that all that land is soft. And then I saw the guy just passed you know, like a 5-ton tilt and load truck that I used to drive myself when I was a tow truck driver, and I just begged him for help, and he hooked me up with a chain and just pulled me out. I just thanked him, but didn't have any tip to give him because I only have enough money to pay the trucker. And then I drove it over there, and this thing, one problem, like the engine works, right? The tires spin, everything is cool, and it does have a low gear. You can go into like a crawler gear. But one thing I found is that something wrong with the steering. Like the steering is very loose, and you basically have to spin that wheel all the time, otherwise the forklift goes like this. Because I'm guessing there should be some problem, right? Like otherwise they wouldn't have sold it. And so, but I don't think that's very expensive to fix if it's a problem, but I'm not gonna even bother with that. But so now the big deal number one was you know, starting it and moving it to the dock, and then loading. And so now we're gonna carry it to that self-storage, and I'm now, you know, I already have experience how to drive it, what to anticipate, how it goes like this. You have to be very careful with the steering, because of course the steering is in the back, you know, that's the problem, right? So you're driving as if you're backing in a car, right? So it's very sensitive. So maybe it's supposed to be like that, you know, because honestly I don't think I ever drove a forklift, so this was my first time. But the forks work, there's no leaks, everything is cool. And the key, check out the key. The key is probably super hard to duplicate. So anyway, so I thought I would be driving with this guy, but it'll take him probably another half an hour to tie it down. So, and I'm already pretty hungry, so I'm gonna go there ahead of him and grab something to eat, and then help him unload. Now unloading will be an adventure, but that's why over there at least I can record the video, right? So we're gonna put this camera on the dash, and we're gonna record how we are falling over. Thankfully that's not gonna happen, but he has 2 section ramps, so he can make them pretty you know, the angle, he can make it low, because this machine, of course, it has like, I don't know, 4 inches in the front ground clearance, 2 in the back, you know, so you have to use long ramps. So that will be something interesting to see, and that I'm gonna show you. Okay, well, I'm sitting at my storage place waiting for the truck, but I think it's probably still pretty far away, because I left, what, like after 5 minutes, but I drove really fast on 407, 427, 407, 401, and the traffic was moving pretty good. So I went to one of my favorite spots here in Cambridge. They erected new buildings, so I almost missed it, but there's one, there's a pita, what is it called, Pita Hut, yeah, like a small, you know, kind of like Lebanese eatery, but the food there is like, man, I go there and I remember, like, some of them they call it kofta, you know, like different. These guys were saying, I think they call it kofta over here, but I said, give me a couple of 3 kofta, you know, meat, and some veggies, and 1 pita bread, and 1 Coke, and it was $15 Canadian, $15, which is actually cheaper than, you know, when I'm in Calgary, I go to the Taj Afghan street food, and they have pretty much the same, you know, this kofta. I think it's same size, but he charges $6 for 1 piece. So if you take 3 pieces, it's $18 already without any drinks. But he can give you some veggies in there, but definitely more expensive over there. Again, so which is funny, because Alberta doesn't have provincial sales tax, right? It's only 5%, which is federal tax, instead of 13 over here. And still many things in Ontario are still cheaper than in Alberta. Specifically, I would say restaurant food and alcohol is cheaper here. And I'm sitting in a spot where, you know, the guy told us from the office, he says that's where we can unload. And honestly, I'm a bit scared, you know. Imagine 17,000-pound forklift, and we're gonna unload it using ramps. Like, you're gonna build up a ramp, and like I mentioned, the steering on this thing, it's not easy to keep it in a straight line, you know. Maybe just my lack of experience, but I'm thinking, how am I gonna, you know, once we go on these ramps, and they're gonna probably be like 3 meters, 10 feet, how am I gonna stay on those ramps, you know? I'll definitely need this guy to, I'll do it myself, but I'll definitely need him to watch. Or actually I can watch, right? I can just stick my neck out and just watch the rear wheel. Oh, actually it might be a bit easier because we'll be backing, right? Like when I drove this way, the steering wheels were in the back, and that's what makes this forklift so maneuverable. But now we'll be backing with the steering wheels in the front. Oh, check this out, like a very old Mac, super old, still works. Conestoga roofing. So anyway, all I need is just basically safely unload this thing, drive it inside, park it, and take off the sticker, the auction sticker, and then take a couple of pictures without the sticker, and maybe do a quick video. You know, I do like a, I don't know, you know, 20-30 second video, because I can upload it to my sites where I have the ad for sale, right? Because they accept video, but it cannot be more than, I think, 600 megabytes. So it's like a short video, but I think it's much better than pictures, right? It gives people a much, you know, better understanding of what the machine is. And so yeah, so far I haven't seen any issues, except steering was a bit, you know, all over the place. But through touch wood, everything like hydraulic, you know, the forks, I can raise them, I can lower them, I can tilt them. The engine works, the transmission works, brakes are okay, even the lights work at the top. You know, you flip the switch and the lights at the top work. So far so good. As you might have guessed it, the forklift is stuck on the ramp. The brakes are very poor, and the only way to brake is by shifting the gear forward. It was pretty scary, I can tell you that. I have 13 jumps with a parachute from a low-flying aircraft in the Russian army, but this was somewhere on that level, you know. But now it's stuck, so we walked around, chatted for a bit. He called his boss, and we agreed that the only way to release it, and of course the truck cannot leave, is by calling a big wrecker. And so I called my friends. Remember those guys that used to help me change axles, you know, install what do you call it, that neck extension, stuff like that, right? Becker Brothers, good company, except they're expensive, so it's gonna probably cost me $400 or $500. And also what we tried to do is, which was not probably very smart, like his ramps are hooked in the back. There's like a little ledge, and they're sitting in that ledge, and there's a metal rod that locks them in there. And it looked a pretty solid construction, so I said maybe let's try to move forward a little bit, you know, because I didn't realize that those support legs in the middle will start buckling. See, they went like this, and so I was watching, and also what happened is that as soon as he started moving, he just moved like, I don't know, 5 inches. I saw that rod started bending out of shape on the left side there, on the driver's side. And so now, of course, you know, they're complaining, and I called the Becker Brothers. They said I got lucky. They said only 45 minutes. And so I tell them, I called their boss. I said, hey, we have to wait. But you know, it's not my fault exactly, right? It's not his fault. But well, the rod is damaged. I said, guys, you were 1 hour late in the morning, right? That's not my fault. And they agree that that's on them. You know, you have to check your truck beforehand, right? So basically, he confirmed. He says the battery was dead. The battery on his K-Whopper was dead. They had to call a mechanic or something to boost it. So they were late, and so had to give him another $100 for the bent rod and for the wasted time. Actually, they say that they okay with 1 hour. Usually they don't charge for 1 hour, but we've been here long time, and I was helping him to build up ramps, right? It takes time. First we tried one ramp, like to make it shorter, but then it was like super steep. We looked at it, and I said, no, I don't feel comfortable. He said, okay, let's build 2 more, you know, make it longer like this. And still the counterweight still hit the pavement, so it definitely would not work with 1 ramp only. Even 2 ramps, it's still too steep because the ground clearance is very low. So basically, you guys are in for a treat. I positioned the car like this, except there's a sun in there, but we're gonna be able to see the wrecker trying to lift this. And I made sure they understand what it is, that it's a forklift and it weighs 17,000 pounds. And they said, oh yeah, there shouldn't be a problem. And the rear wheels are already on the ground. Just that the front left wheel actually went off the ramp, and so the machine now sits on the bottom of the mast. Bottom of the mast sits on the ramp, so it's not going anywhere, you know. But everything else works, you know, forward, rear. But brakes, yeah, brakes need fixing, and maybe steering a little bit, but it's still a solid forklift. So, and I went, there's a big shopping center nearby. I asked the driver if he wants any water. He says yes, please. So I brought him water and a Diet Pepsi. He gave it back to me. He says he doesn't drink Diet Pepsi. I said, okay, that'll be more for me. Give him $120. I said, don't tell your boss. So I gave him $20 like a tip, and $100 to his company. Anyway, so now we wait. What's the time now? 3:34. So he should be here in 15 minutes. And I don't think it's gonna take him too long, you know, because at least this thing has there's 4 points where you can lift it. And probably he doesn't even have to hook up 4 points. He can just lift in the front, and just try to move the front a little bit sideways, because the rear is already on the ground. The rear wheels are on the ground, but it's really dangerous, you know. Like, I never was a big fan of these ramps on step decks. I think they're useless, especially with a wobbly machine like this. So anyway, I knew that this would not be easy, but again, I did not anticipate. No, actually, I was afraid of unloading because of these ramps, you know. At least they did not lie to me. I was asking them, I said, are your ramps flexible? Can you move them, you know? And I don't know if it's hard to see from here, but what we ended up doing, we moved them very close together, because the steer axle in the rear, the wheels are closer together than in the front. And so we almost made it, just the rear of the machine is on the pavement, but the front is stuck on the ramp, so we need a wrecker. So I don't know, I think they charged, the minimum was half an hour, and half an hour was like $200. Nothing is cheap. the last just when I thought that the nightmare was over, as soon as I left this pavement, so-called pavement, it's all cracked, and here, right, it's gravel, but we had some rains like last week, I think, and look at this, because there's so much weight, right? Like this gravel, it's pretty soft. So as soon as I turned this way, like it started getting difficulty moving here, and I just, you know, like I don't want to deal with this anymore. So I called the front office. I said, guys, I'm sorry. I said, the forks are in. This is my spot. The forks are in. The machine sticks out. And he says, how much? I said, well, probably 2 meters, 6 feet. But I said, there's plenty of space here for these people, right? But I said, you know, I'm staying in town till Saturday, so if you want me to, if you want to call me or something. But I said, I don't see what I can do here. And I saw some guys here, they have a forklift, right? And it's not as heavy, because here you see, like, as soon as this thing starts sinking, now the mast is sitting on the ground. But if somebody can push it, I told this guy, I said, I'm okay with that. Just push it forward, you know, maybe a couple of meters, and that's it. So I'm paying monthly for this spot. This is my spot. It can sit here indefinitely as long as I'm paying, right? And the guy next to me, it's a junk car. This is a trailer, and like I said, there's plenty of space for people to, you know, to pass me. So now, of course, I have to, and this thing fell off for some reason. It was stuck okay, and now it's fell off. And now I just want to show you the forklifts, but why I was happy about it. So basically, check this out. Look at the seat. So this is, of course, an older forklift, but the paint doesn't look like it's 40 years old, right? So the seat is new, maybe a few years back, right? So look at the bolts. The bolts are still new, see? So somebody replaced all this. New bolts, new seat, all these hoses. Check the condition of the hoses. So the hoses were replaced, I'm pretty sure. These red things over there, that fresh paint. So somebody replaced that. I'm guessing that's a transmission or something. Look at these hoses. The hoses are in excellent shape. There's no leaks. No leaks in this area. That's the biggest problem area. So the forklift is in great operational shape. Everything is cool, so just ready to go. It might need a tune-up, might need a light tune-up on the brakes, but other than that, it's ready to work. Even the lights work. The lights work, everything. So that's the forklift. So okay, that's it for today.